Hi friends, this is Maya and today we will be discussing the topic family law. Family law chapter. Here on Hindu law, that is topic first is law of marriage, nature and scope. Marriage was a holy sanskar. It could be solemnized in one of the eight forms recognized by the law. The solemnization would be according to the Shastric or customary rites. One would marry at an age as there was no lowest age of marriage. Interreligious and intercaste marriage were prohibited but later could be sanctioned by the custom. Marrying with one's gotra or parvara was not allowed except among Shudras. Husband and wife lived together, the latter would be submitting to the wishes of the former and the former would maintain the latter. Marriage was indissoluble. Divorce was not permitted unless recognized by the custom. Death did not dissolve marriage, therefore widow could not remarry unless permitted by the custom so too. From the very early time, marriage was considered to be an important sacrament. In Hindu traditions, like other traditions, marriage as a sacramental union implied that it was sacrosanct, inviolable, and immutable. Immutability of marriage was coupled with polygamy did not present any hardship for the men, male Hindus, but it was strictly restricted to the women. As a marriage is considered important sacrament, it was the duty of the father to take care of the child after attaining marriage. And several duties were to be performed after the marriage by the male person, and that is in the form of kanda. It means duty in the form of duty towards the wife, duty towards the children, duty towards the society. And like such duties, marriage first duty of the husband was to maintain his wife, look after her maintenance, uh, take the responsibility of the wife, give all importance to her. Marriage is a civil and religious contract whereby a man joined and united a woman for the purpose of civilized society. In law, marriage may ends either the act, agreement, or a ceremony by which two persons enters into wedlock, or their subsequent relations created thereby. Marriage is a civil status or personal relations of one man and one woman joined together in a matrimonial union which was lawfully entered. This is the definition. According to the Ayurveda, also it states that the responsibility of father is to bring up the daughter and find perfect person before the fire god perform the marriage and by do kanyada of the girl. There is no material consent required by the girl. Absolute right for the consent was on father only. No consent was obtained from the girl. Characteristics of the marriage are it is universal. It is for the formation of family. The marriage was done for the formation of family. It forces a new social link. It fixes the responsibility, bringing up children on the parents. It is the result of civil or religious ceremony. It is legitimation of the children born out of such union, which is social need in marriage. The male and female gets the rights of mutual relationship in economic, social and biological sphere. Importance of the marriage is that it is an important tradition. As a man in the society is considered to be half without marriage, he is incomplete till he gets married. As per the Hindu law, a person by birth is born with three debts. What as per the Hindu law, what it says traditions. Those are the debts: God debt, Pitru debts, Rishi debts. It regulates and socially validates the relativity relatively long-term legitimate sexual relations between male and female. Marriage serves to start reproductive process. Marriage is also a way to acquire new kinsmen. It is only after marriage a family comes into being. You know, the main rights and obligations for performing the marriage is that it is the duty of the husband to protect his wife, to give her affection, love, respect, honor his wife, not to assault or commit battery against his wife. Right to have son is also called the one of the most important, because sun is considered to be the light of the Vansh. In Hindu, what would say Vansh, who opens the door of the heaven for the father to release him from all the sufferings of hells. Father, son is called, enables him to attain the moksha. Right of husband is that he is entitled to custody of conjugal society of his wife. He is also entitled to succeed her if she predeceases him without issue, and can utilize her Sridhan property to relieve himself in circumstances of extreme distress. Duties of the wife are that to attain the needs of her husband, the wife has to perform the duties. She has to attend the needs of her husband, her family, both in religious and household activity, to show obedience and venerations for the husband, to live with him wherever he may choose to reside, unless he is guilty of cruelty of conduct, misconduct. The main rights of the wives are right for the maintenance throughout her life. She has the right to maintenance. She has the right to equality in house of her husband. She has the right to share in property. Right for suit for restitution of conjugal rights. Right to get divorce for the cruelty, insult, etc. It is an important place in social life. One of the most important sanskara. It is solemnized once and for all. A man gets married to a woman, and man is incomplete without his wife. For example, what a function yagna to be performed in Hindus should be done along with his wife. Without her presence, it cannot be completed. All religious ceremonies has to be performed in the Hindu along with his companion, with his wife. Otherwise, it will bear no fruits for the prayers, whatever they perform. A woman gets married to live behind her father. She gets married, leaving behind his father's gotra, and joins into her husband's gotra. Thus, wife comes from one gotra to another gotra and occupies the husband's gotra. It is a contract. It is not performed for legitimate child. It is sacrament, nor emotional gratification. As per Manusmriti, many said it is a form of contract. When you do dan gift, it comes in a contract. Civil contract and gift means no consideration. Still, it is a contract. One is accepting, other is taking without consideration. It is accepted, which can be considered as a civil contract. Thus, Hindu marriage is a very important, considered to be very important aspects in Hindu law. Everyone has to get married and perform his duty and rights which are assigned by the customs and tradition as per the Hindu law. Now we will be discussing the essentials of Hindu marriage. What are the essential requirements for the Hindu for performing the marriage? To consider marriage to be valid in Hindu law, there are 5 essential elements. First is the monogamy, second is the sanity, third criteria is the age, fourth is beyond prohibited degree relationship, and fifth is beyond Sapinda relationship. We'll discuss one by one. First is the monogamy. Monogamy means marriage during the lifetime. Once one man marries one woman. No second marriage is allowed during the substance of the first marriage. If it is done, then it is considered to be void. However, after divorce, a person can remarry but cannot marry during the subsistence of the marriage. This condition prohibits polygamy. By the expression neither party has a spouse living depicts that the spouse must be alive at the time of marriage that could bar the remarriage of a person. However, one must note that the first marriage of a person should be legally valid. In spite of one's valid marriage, if the person remarries, then it is a violation of section 5(1). Second marriage will be null and void. He will be subject to penal consequences. The scheduled tribes are exempted from application of the act, but there must be approved customs to this effect. Modern Hindu Law Marriage Act 1955 does away with practicality every aspect of sacramental ties. Just as a widow are permitted to remarry, so for widows, divorce is allowed. Marriage still retains its sacramental character only in the sense that in most Hindus, marriage, which is a sacred ceremony, is still necessary. Marriage is still considered to be necessary. At the same time, it is difficult to say that Hindu marriage has become a contract. Non-consent, non-age doesn't render the marriage invalid, but even voidable. The same is true of the non-consent of the guardian. If the consent obtained by fraud or a force, the marriage is voidable at the instance of innocent party. The same position when one of the party is an idiot or a lunatic. We'll refer a case here. Yamuna versus Anita Rao, Ananta Thi Thrama, Rao Radha versus Adar, Rao Adar versus Adar. It prohibits polygamy and polyandry marriages. If contravened, marriages become void. For example, if a husband and a wife are married and later comes to know that husband is already married, sustaining his first marriage, then husband will be prosecuted for the offence of bigamy under section 17 of Hindu Marriage Act. And if wife is already married, subsisting the marriage, and later comes to know, then wife will be prosecuted under bigamy under section 17 of Hindu Marriage Act. In such case, wife cannot claim maintenance also under section 125 of CRPC as marriage is not valid. Now we will consider the second point, that is sanity, unsound mind. Sanity, unsound mind, it can be differentiated in three parts. First is the parties to the marriage are of sound mind. Second, not suffering from any mental disability. C, parties must be mentally fit to give valid consent to the marriage. Subclause A, that is parties to marriage are of sound mind. At the time of marriage, husband and wife, neither of the party is incapable of giving the valid consent to the marriage due to unsoundness of mind. Subclause B says mental disorder. According to it, at the time of marriage, neither party to marriage should be suffering from any mental disorder of such nature and to such a degree as to be unfit for two purposes, that is marriage and for procreation of child. In this case, we'll refer one case also, Tarlochan Singh versus Jeet Kaur. So the court held that marriage void on the ground that wife was suffering from schizophrenia within a short period after the marriage and the disease was not disclosed to the husband before the marriage. Subclause C, what it says, recurrent attacks of insanity. If a person has been subject to recurrent attacks of insanity, he is also not qualified for marriage under Hindu law, marriage act. He cannot marry even during the lucid period. Post-marriage mental illness, they are being bifurcated. Post-marriage mental illness, if a party to a marriage is not suffering from any mental defect described under section 5(2), subclause 2, but fails ill mentally after the marriage, there is no violation of this condition, but fails ill mentally after the marriage, there is no violation of this condition. Hindu Marriage Act 1955 as amended by the Marriage Law Amendment Act 1976 and 1999 also lays down that neither party to the marriage should be incapable of giving valid consent to its consequences in consequence of unsoundness of mind, that he should be of sound mind. B. Though capable of giving valid consent, has been suffering from mental disorder of such a kind or to such an extent as to be unfit for marriage and procreation of children. This also comes into this. Though he is capable of giving valid consent, but has been suffering from mental disorder such kind that such an extent that he is unfit for procreation of children and for marriage. Third comes that he has been subject to recurrent attacks of insanity. Violation of this condition renders the marriage void as per the Hindu marriage. Case law we will refer to it as Alka Sharma versus Abhiresh Chandra Sharma. Law has been written and we are going to interpret it or means and was there and or subject is also added. After marriage, husband or wife, either of the party comes to know either of the party is suffering from epilepsy, then the party has the option to consider marriage void through appropriate court. Another case law is there, Anima Roy versus Prabhat Mohan Roy, AR 1969 CAL 304. In this case, respondent was found to be suffering from schizophrenia 2 months after the marriage. The psychiatrist who examined the respondent could not determine the exact time onset of the illness. Consequently, it was held that the illness at the time of marriage was not proved. Hence, the nullity was not granted. It has to be proved. Another case is Kartik Chandra versus Manju Rani, AR 73, Calcutta 545. The respondent in this case exhibited abnormal behaviors. After 3 days of marriage, respondent had appeared for her matriculation exam. 3 months prior to the examination, observant of the detail, the court presumed that his state of sanity continued till her marriage and the recent breakdown was not viewed as lunacy at the time of marriage. Now we will come to the third point, that is the age criteria. As per the Hindu Marriage Act, Hindu law, previously the age criteria for the marriage was considered to be, there was no age criteria. In the olden period, as per the custom, there was no age criteria for the marriage. As the girl attains the puberty period, she was considered to be the perfect for the marriage, and boys' marriage was not considered to be 18 or something. Now what is to be considered? So it was basically before the amendment of law and all, the age criteria was considered to be 15 years for girl and 18 years for the boy. If the girl below 15 years, her parents' guardian consent was taken, was considered as valid. However, after the amendment of Hindu Marriage Act Section 5 and Child Marriage Act 1929, the criteria for girl was raised to 18 years and for boys it was raised to 29 years. In case of violation of the condition, the punishment was simply extending to 15 days or fine with extent to 1,000 rupees or both. And if it is occupied with Child Marriage Act, then the punishment was for 3 months and simple imprisonment. Now we turn to the fourth point, that is beyond prohibited degree of relationship. A couple who falls within the prohibited degree of relationship cannot marry. These prohibitions are based on consanguinity blood relationship, including half blood, means having one parents in common, for example, half brother, affinity, relationship by marriage. This clause has a scientific base because the prevention of marriage between the person of prohibited degree of relationship or sapinda will actually prevent the birth of physically deformed children or deaf, dumb or blind children, because the possibility of delivering blind children, such children is more abnormal children. Such children are more in such marriages between the person who comes under the prohibited relationship and sapinda. Section 3G states that two persons are said to be within the degree of prohibited relationship. What does it say? If one is really an ascendant of the other, or one was the wife or the husband of a lineage, ascendant or descendant of the other, or one was the wife of the brother or the father's, mother's brother or the grandfather or grandmother brother, or if two are brother and sister, uncle, niece, aunt, nephew or children of brother and sister, or of two brothers or of two sisters. Under Hindu law, certain prohibitions relating to marriage were based upon peculiar notes of consanguinity and caste intercaste marriages. Even inter-subcaste marriage were not allowed. Through marriages with non-Hindus was not in line. Sagatra and Sapara marriage were also prohibited. In modern Hindu law, restrictions have been done away with now. Any two Hindus can marry. Hindu law recognizes prohibitions on the basis of it recognizes prohibition on the basis of relationship called sapinda relationship. It exists up to 5-degree level of on the paternal side. The other prohibition is based upon the degree of prohibited relationship. Cannot marry. Relationship thus prohibited are based upon either blood relationship or relationship by marriage. However, two persons, even if they are sapinda or within the prohibited, can marry each other when custom permits such a marriage. If you find, for example, in Karnataka, Kannada peoples and all that, their custom allows them to marry uncle to his sister's daughter. The custom allows, that's why. Now we'll come to the fifth point, that is beyond sapinda relationship. It is the extension of the fourth point of prohibited relationship. Relationship connected through same body, funeral oblations of food, common lineal accident, means any two persons having same ancestor are sapinda to each other. Sapinda relation can't marry each other. It takes into account 5 generations from father's side and 3 generations from mother's side, all inclusive. Explanation for the purpose of clause 3F and 3G relationship includes relationship by half or uterine blood as well as by full blood, illegitimate blood relationship as well as legitimate relationship by adoption as well as by blood, and all terms of relationship in those clauses shall be construed accordingly. Section 3F says sapinda relationship with reference to any person extend as far as the third generation, including in the line of action through mother, the lines come from the mother side, and the fifth inclusive in the line of action through the father, the line being traced upward in each case from person concerned who is to be counted as the first generation. If two persons are said to be sapinda of each other, if one is lineal ascendant of other within the limits of sapinda relationship, or if they have a common lineal ascendant who is within the limits of sapinda relationship with reference to each of them, they cannot marry each other. Section 11 of Hindu marriage 1955 may be declared as null and void on the ground that marriage was bigamous or parties were subpoena to each other or parties were related to each other within the prohibited degree of relationship. Marriage may be considered null when it has not been consummated owing to the impotence of the parties. A party is incapable of mind, valid consent to its in consequence of unsoundness of mind, or though capable of giving valid consent, was suffering from any mental disorder of such kind or such an extent as to be unfit for marriage and procreation of children as subject to recurrent attacks. We have already discussed this. The response. This section, this section 11 applies only to the parties to a marriage. No other parties are allowed to get relief under this section. The parties must be married. Thus, in this way, thus marriage is considered an important sacrament. Though they have Hindu marriage has brought many landmarks, social legislation. It has not simply codified the Hindu law of marriage, but has also introduced certain changes in many respects. The Hindu marriage contemplated by the Act hardly it remains sacramental nowadays. So, in this way, we have completed the chapter 1. I hope you must have understood it well. So, thank you. Goodbye and take care.